Welcome to the FocusHoops show. I'm going to be joined in a moment by Robyn Lewis, WBBL star. She's currently a youth coach with the Cardiff Met Archers, as well as, of course, being a very, very popular player in the WBBL over the last couple of years. Just a couple of things to get out of the way. Firstly, apologies for the state of my voice. It's been, I've got basically fresh as cold. We're going to call it fresh as cold. So yeah, apologies there. Other key notes, as you can see in the bottom corner, where's this? The bottom right-hand corner, as you look at it, we are sponsored by Notch, the Mark of Achievement. Going to talk more about them later. Wonderful bracelet company. Highly recommend you check out their brand new basketball collection. I'm even wearing my Notch right now, which, again, I paid for. I purchased because I thought the product looked really cool. They've been really cool. It's been cool. Also, one last little note before we get to Robyn Lewis. Happy birthday to my good friend, Lil Diesel. You know who you are. Hope you had a smashing day of being a legend, quite frankly. Okay. That's all the news we've got. Oh, wait. One last thing. WNBA show live on Thursday on YouTube, 8 p.m. Check it out. We're going to have Kaz Bullock. We're going to have Mike Hansen Morris. Hopefully, we will get one other person. We don't know who that may be, but it should be good. We're going to talk about playoffs in the WNBA. So let's get into our interview with Robyn Lewis. Robyn, thank you so much for joining us on FocusHoops.
Thank you for having me.
So, just firstly, how have you found the last couple of months?
Yeah, it's been quite strange, I guess. Same for everyone. I'm currently living at home, which I haven't done for 7 years. So I'm living back with my mum, which is a bit different. And I've never taken this long out of basketball since as long as I've played. So, it's been a bit bizarre, but trying to make the most of it and enjoy some time with family and things like that. So, yeah, it's going okay.
I was going to say, obviously, circumstances are not great, but is it quite nice to be back home and back with family? Because obviously you're from Scotland, you're from just outside of Glasgow, from Paisley, is that correct? And now you're based in, the beautiful, my home city of Cardiff. No, not my home city. That's not my home city. It's my country's capital. I'm not from anywhere near Cardiff. My apologies. But you're now in Cardiff. So is it nice to be back for an extended amount of time?
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, I love my life in Cardiff. I've got great people there, and I was very lucky to spend some time in Salisbury during lockdown as well, which was nice. But it's definitely been good to be back and kind of plug some gaps where I haven't really been here for a while and see my grandparents and spend time at home. So yeah, it's definitely been nice to be back for a while.
Kind of find the positives in these situations where we can, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the main thing at the moment. It's been really good actually to see how innovative and things people have been during this time and supportive and finding online platforms and doing a lot of that. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, positivity is the way forward.
So before we dive into you and your playing career and where it all began, do you want to talk just a little bit about what you've been doing recently with Cardiff Met?
Yeah, so obviously I've been in Cardiff close to 2 years now. Kind of went there straight after I'd graduated from my master's. So picked up kind of part-time work initially in a school and now in a housing association. So I kind of do that in a day to a means to an end, basically, to allow me to play and do various things. Got quite involved in the academy stuff as well. So I'm currently head coaching the under-10s program, which is really cool, really fun. They're great. So I really enjoy that. And I'm assisting the under 16 girls as well this year again, which is great. So yeah, involved in all that kind of stuff, bits of refereeing, tabling. It's a really kind of close-knit club and a lot of people turn their hand to a lot of things, which I think is a real strength. So yeah, just getting involved in lots and lots of things as and when I can, really.
How do you find that with the coaching of the under 10s versus the assisting with under 16s? Like, what are the different challenges of those two roles?
Yeah, they're very different. The 10s are great. I basically just feel like a big kid every week in that session. It's so much fun. Just planning and working on skills and seeing kids fall in love with basketball for the first time, which is so cool. Like, it's a real privilege to get to be in that group every week. And then the 16s are obviously at quite a different stage of their kind of basketball journey and their academic journey. Like, they're all in school, they've got different pressures, kind of finding their feet a little bit. So kind of playing basketball is a real safe space for them, and they enjoy time with their friends, and that's kind of cool to get to lead and be a role model for them and try and show them some more developed kind of skills than we do with the 10s. So yeah, it's quite a cool contrast. It's nice to have both elements.
Let's talk about where it started for you in your basketball journey. So obviously, as we've established, you're from Paisley, which is just outside of Glasgow. Where did you now? Actually, I was going to say basketball in Scotland, are they super synonymous? But Scotland, it's actually a real hotbed of basketball, and it's got a thriving domestic league. So where did it begin for you?
So actually, I kind of got dragged kicking and screaming to my first basketball session. I had a really good friend in primary school, and she wanted to go to kind of a local club. We had a guy in our school at the time, one of the teachers. He was an American guy. He was really into basketball. He got a lot of kids involved, which was really cool. But she really wanted to go to this kind of club session, the Erskine Eagles. And I wasn't for it at all. I wasn't very keen. And I was really sporty when I was younger. I played a lot of different sports, but it didn't appeal to me at all. So she dragged me along, and I absolutely loved it and played ever since. That kind of team fed into kind of the Basketball Paisley St Mirren stuff as one of the youth programs in the area. So yeah, once I went along to session number 1, I was hooked. And then she doesn't play anymore, but I mean, a lot of whatever I've done, credit to her, to be fair, because I would never have gone if she hadn't forced me to.
So do you remember what it was about basketball that really got you hooked? You said that you were in from session 1. So I missed how old you were when you went to this first session.
So I was still in primary school, but probably towards the end. So I was probably at 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I loved how quick it was. I was doing a lot of like athletics at the time as well. But I think I loved it. It was a team sport. So you could play with other people, and yeah, that really appealed to me. Kind of the quickness, I guess, not surprising for me, because that's kind of the main thing I enjoy about playing now. And then, yeah, the teaminess of it and getting to meet people and spend time with them and learn new stuff. There's always something to learn. Like, you never have it sussed. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Obviously, you've played Scotland junior national teams. You've been in the shake-up for GB youth teams as well. When did it really click with you? This like, oh, this is something I can really do and play at the top level of the British game and who knows what else.
I mean, I guess I was always involved in the Scotland stuff when I was younger. I think when I got to about 14, I was still training in athletics at the time, and it kind of got to a stage of you're going to have to pick one or the other. You're going to have to specialise now and choose what one you want to do. So I remember that being quite a big moment of being like, okay, I'm going to put my athletics to one side now and basketball is going to be the priority. So I think that was quite a big moment. And then probably the next one was probably going to university, because we finished schools a little bit younger here. So I came out of school at 17. So I still had 1 year of under 18s left to play. But I could have gone to uni at 17. And I guess I ended up taking a year out that year, but that year kind of processing, what do I want to do and what are my priorities? And then thinking, okay, I want to go to Loughborough because I think it's got a really good basketball program. And that was kind of the main reason for going there. So that was quite a big moment as well, I guess, when I really thought, okay, I want to hone my skills now and try and make a go at it, really.
So how was your junior Scotland experience with the national team? How did that feel to represent your country?
Yeah, really great. It's always great. It's like a very proud thing to represent your country at any kind of level. And I actually didn't make the first national team that I trialled for. So I went along to, I think it was under 14 trials, was my first trial. And I got cut and I was absolutely gutted. I was so devastated. And then made like the 16s the following year and kind of worked my way up from there. But yeah, I had such great memories. I'm still friends, really good friends with a lot of the girls and the coaches I had kind of during that period of my life. And it was like really a great thing to be a part of. We had so much fun and I like developed, and there's so much off the court as well, just learning how to socialize and interact with people. And it's quite an awkward age. So it was a super cool thing to be doing with the summer, and just a really great thing to be a part of at that age. It was not that many people were doing that kind of thing. But yeah, I've got such great memories of that time. Yeah.
How is that going into school? Going into school after a summer and being like, oh yeah, I'm an international basketball player. Robyn Lewis, maybe you've heard of me, an international basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite a nerd in school, I'll be honest. I wasn't cool. I really wasn't at all. So it was different. I didn't like a lot of my friends, they weren't really sporty, and a lot of the people, especially girls in my school, like a lot of them weren't sporty. So it was a bit like, it was cool, but it was definitely separate to like school. I wasn't like going and bragging about it kind of thing. I didn't really see it as a cool thing. Now maybe I would brag a little bit more, I don't know, but yeah, at the time I didn't, just head down and get on. But it was really, it gave me a lot of confidence at that time as well, having that kind of teamliness away from school and stuff, so that was good.
You said that you specialized at 14. Obviously you coached under 10s and under 16s. Do you feel that's a bit young to be specializing, or do you think that's a time where an athlete needs to decide if they're going to be really, really serious at something when they decide?
I guess it's hard. I think it can vary like athlete to athlete. Some kids just find one sport and they love it, and some try loads and love it, and some never specialize and are really good at 2 or 3. It really depends. I guess in terms of the national team setup, you're kind of, at least by under 16, you're kind of set up to have picked, like, it's quite a big commitment, especially at that age when you're relying on your parents to take you places. And I know in other parts of Europe, they specialize even younger. So I guess at the time, it didn't feel like I was really that young. It felt like, okay, this is the right time to make that decision. I remember being sad about giving one up, but I remember agreeing that it was the right time to do that. But yeah, I think it is probably different for person to person, child to child. It's hard to have like a one size fits all, isn't it? But yeah, I guess the national team is geared for probably under 16 at least to be specialised by then.
Yeah, I suppose if you are, again, Robyn Lewis, international basketball player at that age, it stands to reason that you would focus on that. So September 2013, that took you to Loughborough University, coached by Matt Harbour. That would be correct. Yeah. So firstly, how many whiteboards did you remember Matt breaking? And does he have, because I've asked this him and he swears he doesn't, does he have like a gimmicked one that's like, like that glass that breaks in films? Has he got a whiteboard, one of those, for just to really get you guys going, or no?
I've never seen it, Maybe. No. He did used to have a chair. He wrote his own name on the back of a chair once. That was Coach Harbour.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you telling me that. Thank you so much.
I think it still lives on. If you go into Loughborough Uni, that chair is probably still there somewhere.
Is it now? Oh, that's very exciting. See, now we need to get him this at the Bunker, home of Anglia Ruskin University. So, yeah, you've alluded to it earlier, but what was it that drew you to Loughborough? Was there an opportunity for you to play abroad in the States, maybe in Europe, or was it always going to be stay in the UK and go to Loughborough?
If I'm honest, the States really wasn't on the cards for me at that time. I mean, I think in the space of the last 7 years since I went to uni, we've come a long way with kind of youth programs and having those pathways. When I left school, I did contact Basketball Scotland and ask about options, but there really wasn't a great deal of knowledge about it at that time. And I don't know if I would have necessarily been ready at that time in terms of skill. I had applied for university and then chose to defer. And during that kind of year that I deferred, I went to Loughborough on a visit and loved the campus, loved everything about it. And yeah, I guess that kind of drew me in. But even at that point, I wasn't even really in a position to be playing in their top team. Like when I initially went in for pre-season, I was training with the second team as well. And then kind of made the step up. So yeah, I guess for me, the States, it probably wasn't really on the cards. And my academics were really important to me as well. I wanted to go to a good university and prioritize that at the same time. So yeah, it seemed like a really good fit for me.
What was it you studied?
So I did international relations from undergrad, so nothing sport related at all, which was always a shock that in a campus like Loughborough, everyone expects you to be studying sport.
So what were some of your memories of that first season at Loughborough? So you said that you started out training with the second team as well as the first team, or just the second team?
Yeah, so there was a bit of crossover. I went down for the full pre-season. I think did do a bit of training with both. I remember there being like a pre-season kind of tournament and both teams were playing that weekend, and I played for both teams that weekend, and it was a lot of games. And then after that, Matt kind of said, okay, I think you can come up to like the first now. Obviously just being aware that you might not get much run and like this is the training schedule. And I was just like, great, that's what I want to do. Like, let's do it. So yeah, I guess kind of in between the two. And then, yeah, quite quickly went into kind of that first team setup and got going with that and just loved it from there. Yeah.
How was it playing behind a player like Georgia Jones for those 2 years, those first 2 years?
I think I just soaked it up like a sponge. Like I was completely in awe of her. Like I couldn't, of a lot, we had such a talented team, especially my first year. There was so many talented players on that team. And I think I was really lucky. I mean, I was I was quite young and really inexperienced out of that kind of cohort. And they were just so good with me. Like I worked as hard as I could every practice, but I messed up all the time. And like I didn't understand things that they understood, and I didn't really have a basketball brain yet. So it was, yeah, incredible. And like, I could not thank Georgia enough for that period. Like she was such a role model for me on and off the court. Still is, to be honest. But they were just all really supportive. Kind of, you had like Rianne Bailey in that mix, and Mia and Maya and the Bratkas. You know, there was a lot of like really nice people. It was a really supportive environment, and it was a really challenging couple of years. Like I had a lot of growing to do. But yeah, it was great. It was such a good experience.
What would you say? So you've said that your basketball brain wasn't quite there. How quickly did that catch up? Because I assume like the physical was thereabouts, but the brain, the basketball IQ wasn't quite there. How quickly did that come into place?
I mean, I think a lot of it was I just never really trained like that before. I'd never done like individual sessions. I'd never been used to training every day. I'd kind of like my club team, we practiced twice a week. I was on the court for 4 hours, and then I went into a preseason and it was like, okay, we practice as a team every day, and then in the morning you do it. I never lifted weights. I hadn't done any of that. So it was all really new. So in terms of, I improved quite quickly in certain areas just because of repetition. And of having such, like, Matt was a great coach, and spent a lot of individual time with me, which was good. But yeah, it kind of, it took a good couple of years. I think like all 3 of my years at Loughborough were really focused on skill development, and improving a lot of aspects of my game that I didn't have and that don't necessarily come particularly naturally to me. Like I don't think I'm a naturally skilled basketball player. I've worked hard at the skills I have, but I'm like not naturally a great shooter or any of that stuff. I put time in to be good at those things, or to be the best that I can at those things. So yeah, I think probably the whole 3 years, but certainly my first year, I mean, I think I did get most improved player that year because I was spending so much time in the gym compared to what I had before, and just really loving being exposed to such a high level of basketball that I hadn't before. So, yeah.
I think we can definitely, like, without qualifier, say good basketball player and good at his skills. I think that goes without saying. So you played in the old WNBL D1 before it became the WBBL, and you were a playoff champion. You had a big bucket in the final. You scored a layup on Helen Naylor, who is just like, as you know, obviously, but if you're watching and you're not too sure, Helen Naylor is like the creme de la creme of women's basketball in this United Kingdom. So just tell us about that. How was that season? How was that moment in the playoffs?
Yeah, such a cool season, like a really cool group of people. We had a great run, like the playoffs were just incredible. Yeah, I do remember turning up at the playoffs, and in Scottish basketball playoffs, I would turn up and I would kind of know everyone in the gym, and you couldn't walk like a few meters without stopping and talking to someone. And I remember like looking at Georgia and other people, and they were doing that, and I was like, I know no one here. I don't know anyone anymore. I'm feeling quite out my depth. And I knew I wasn't really going to play, but I was just so excited to be part of the whole experience and watch and be in. And I was nervous to go in. And I actually really remember that layup like vividly, because I remember thinking she's going to think I'm going to pass, because everyone probably thought that at that time, because I was so young and I am like a pass first player. And then I remember like taking the layup, and then I do remember like the bench reaction, because they just went crazy. Because I was just so young then, and it's like now being a little bit older, you do get really, really excited when younger players do something well, especially when you see them working on it like every day in the practice. So yeah, I think that weekend it was like a blur, but a really great blur. We had such a fun time, and like won the playoffs, which was obviously great. It's what everyone works for. So yeah, super cool.
I think this is like the famous playoffs. And I say famous playoffs because Michael Hansen-Morris has told me the tale of him. He was a Riders coach at the time on the coaching staff with Matt, of how he basically didn't sleep all the Final Four weekend. And he's very proud of that, as I assume you are.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, I remember, I think they'd stayed up all the night from like the semi-final to the final, like reviewing film and stuff. And then Matt told them to go to bed, because obviously they had like a couple of hours till the rest of us were getting up to go eat breakfast and then go to the game. And he like turned up at breakfast, and all of us were like, what are you doing here? You're not even going to eat breakfast and you should be asleep. And they all still came, and it was bizarre. But yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, really, like the coaching staff, everything was great that year. So I think, yeah, we all really enjoyed the whole weekend.
And then the next season, you were a Bucks champion, and the final was played at Loughborough. So how was that, playing obviously for the university championship and playing it on your own home floor?
Yeah, that was cool. I remember my parents came to that game, and it being quite a big event. And my brother hadn't gone to uni yet, so he was just amazed by the whole kind of event on the campus and stuff like that. And I guess quite a contrast for me, going from like school where maybe not a lot of people played sport. Like Loughborough was so refreshing, like playing sport was cool, and everyone was so interested in how you were doing. And even people from my course, it was such a big day like on the campus for everyone. And it was a really special atmosphere, just to have everyone involved, to have my parents there, to have friends I'd made there, and like to be able to just, the game happens, it was amazing. And then we were able to kind of celebrate on our kind of home turf kind of thing. So yeah, that was a really cool day as well. Just very lucky during that kind of couple of years, to be fair.
And then that summer you went on to play GB under-20 national team, playing major minutes, playing 36 minutes a game, 9 games in 11 days. How was that? That sounds brutal.
It was pretty brutal, actually. I'm not too sure how I did it at the time. And I think quite a lot of the time, actually, after major tournaments, when I've represented, when I've been younger as well, I get quite ill off the back of a tournament, like whether it's just a sickness bug or something. I think just it is like because I'm so exhausted. But I was just so happy to make the team. I'd got injured the year before in the training camp. I was really gutted about it. So I think just every minute that tournament, I just lapped it up. I was so happy just to play any amount of court time, and we were trying to play quite up tempo and get up the floor, and that suited me. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It was like such an honour, obviously, to put on a GB jersey and get a flavour for that. So yeah.
Who else would have been in that roster with you?
So we actually did have quite a lot of Scots on that roster that year. So we had which was fun. You know, I'd played with a lot of them when I was younger. So it was like Sarah Thompson was on the team, and Hannah Peacock, Kirsten Simpson. So yeah, there was quite a few of us, and then I'm trying to think who else. There's Beth Sarson, you know, a few people that play overseas now as well. Harriet, Laura Milligan. So again, like regular faces in the WBBL now that were on that program as well. Sadie Russell. There was quite a few. Evelyn. Yeah, lots of people.
What was your best moment during that time playing for GB under-20s?
I think just being exposed to, again, that step up of basketball, especially getting to play major minutes and getting to play against competition that you hadn't played against before. So that was special. And actually, as a group, we didn't do as well as we wanted to on the floor in that tournament, but off the court, we actually got on so well. We were a really close-knit team, and I think everyone just had such a fun couple of weeks, like away together, and trying to play at a higher level and improve ourselves. And the whole experience of that kind of couple of weeks was pretty special. And I'm trying to think of like a standout moment. I'd really enjoyed the games. Like I would have relived it like 5 times over. I just loved playing basketball at that level and that kind of pace. It was all pretty cool. It's hard to pick just one thing.
Where were you? Where were you playing that year?
I need to remember now because I always get mixed up. I want to say that year was Montenegro. Okay. Yeah, we played in Montenegro. So I always get confused because with Scotland, I've played in a few tournaments as well, and then I get mixed up of the location. So when people ask me, I have to think. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Montenegro.
So how was that obviously playing in, again, another real hotbed of European basketball? We saw what happened when GB played Montenegro earlier in the year. It's very strong atmosphere, brilliant fans. So how did you find that experience? And just how was, sorry, this is going to be a dumb question, but how was like the floor and the gym and stuff? Like, did anything stand out to you from that?
It was actually a really nice arena. It was really nice. It was just the temperature, obviously. It's like 40 degrees, so it's a lot different to playing here. So it was really hot, so that was difficult to get used to. It was just really cool. They had some fans in. I don't ever remember it being like, it wasn't like packed out or anything. Yeah. But they had people there, and just I think it's a lot of the time, especially now in the WBBL, and I've maybe not done as much national team stuff the last couple of years, you kind of know who you're playing against a lot of the time. So I really enjoyed, not like, you don't necessarily know the skill set of a particular player or your matchup, and there's only so much scouting you can do when you're playing 3 game days in a row. So I remember, I think that was cool, just to go out and see what happens. In a sense, obviously you do as much prep as you can, but you don't know the ins and outs of every single team.
Word from our sponsors, Notch, the mark of achievement, and we are very glad to have them on board with FocusHoops this year. They make fantastic bracelets that look super stylish and really help you celebrate your sporting achievement. They've just launched a basketball collection, and we're really excited to be on board with them. Let's imagine that you're a player. Let's say that you're Courtney Vandersloot. You got 18 assists in a single ball game, and you want a notch and a bracelet to commemorate that fact. Well, you can do just that. Customize it to your team colors, put the year that you achieved it, and get it the exact size that you need. There are number of the colours available. Or maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're the coach of a basketball team. Let's just say that you're the London Tyrannosaurus Rex. Your team wears red. You had the league's most valuable player, the MVP, and you want to celebrate that. You want to award them with a great looking notch bracelet. Well, you can do just that. And you can get it saying MVP on the notch itself. That's the charm. You can get the colour you want. Gold is one that I'd go for if we're commemorating the best player in the league. We could even get the team logo, if it's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, let's say, on there. And present it in a beautiful presentation case. Huge thanks for Notch for coming on board Focus Hoops.
In the 15-16 season, that year, you captained the Scotland senior team. So how was that experience?
Yeah. It was a difficult season for us, and like the regular season, we did have a lot of injuries. We were running really light on the ground. We didn't even have that many bodies in practices a lot of the time because we had so many people injured. So I remember there was quite a deep feeling of frustration amongst the team, especially because we had a good roster on paper at the start of the season and we wanted to do damage, and it didn't really quite pull off for us. So yeah, then to go home and kind of go back, and I was really excited to kind of showcase, because I'd like worked so hard for the 3 years, and I really felt like I'd improved a lot as an athlete than I had before when I left. So I remember being really excited, kind of heading into that national team training camp and just like going back and seeing old friends and linking back up again, but also feeling like I'd made quite big steps as a basketball player during that period. And I think like Bart Sengers was just coming into kind of the coaching staff then, so starting to make links with him, and it was a really kind of big game, and there was kind of, you felt like we were building momentum as a national team at that point. So yeah, that was a real highlight and a really nice way to finish off that year and head into the summer, I guess, after the regular season had been quite tough.
And you played against North Carolina for Scotland, is that right?
Yeah. So that was that summer. We played them in a friendly in Stirling at the Peak. And it was packed. There was a lot of people there, which was just crazy. I think at the time, I didn't really register quite how huge that actually was. But now when I think back on it, it's crazy to think that we did that. And when you talk to other people about it, they think it's crazy that you did that too, if they know basketball and they know certain teams. So yeah, definitely it was crazy.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I wish Wales would play against UNC. Let's make that happen, Cymru. Come on, let's go. So yeah, just how was that? How was it playing? Because obviously you've played against British university students, or British university teams rather. Obviously WBBL by this point was in its second season. How was playing against an American college versus what you were used to?
Just a huge step up. And I think as well, the size that, like, I mean, I'm not a big basketball player. I know that. Everyone that sees you knows that. But these girls were huge. They were absolutely huge. Their whole roster was huge. And there is a picture actually of me trying to inbound the ball and against this girl, like, they're big, and it's hilarious. Like, to see the picture, it's absolutely hilarious. But they were just so skilled and athletic, like really well drilled. I think as a national team, sometimes where we struggle is we don't get big training camps on a lot of time together. Like, people are off doing their own thing in the season, and then it can be hard to come back as a group. In the summer, either people have got different commitments, not everyone can make it, we can't get the facility, there's classic things. So they just ran so effortlessly as a unit. And I mean, they were still early days of their kind of pre-season, but they'd obviously spent some time together, and it was just nice to see them. They were starting to establish connections and how they were going to work, and you could see the talent that they had and the potential that they had. So yeah, it was a huge step up.
There's been a few things that you've said that has me really excited for your future as a coach. After when in the very long future, when your playing days are finally at an end after a very successful time. Don't get me wrong, but yes, the connections and like the learning element of things and you seeing players grow, that seems to really excite you. Why do you think that's such a big part of the way you look at the sport?
I think we're really lucky in British basketball, actually. We're quite a tight-knit, close community, and there's a lot of people doing some really cool things, and trying to get younger people involved in the game and being really strong role models. And I've always felt privileged to have the role models that I've had, and I certainly feel I've learned a lot from them. And I think it's just refreshing to think you could be that for someone else, especially at a time when the game maybe does struggle in other areas. I mean, I think basketball can teach you so much, not just about being a basketball player, but off the court, there's so much. And I think, yeah, that does excite me. It excites me to see kids loving the sport that I love and making connections on a court and kind of finding themselves and navigating that. And it's people that they would never maybe mix with in any other walk of life, but it seems to work. So I think, yeah, it's such an exciting game, and you can meet some really cool people, and there's really cool people in the British basketball community that are driving it forward, and to be a small part of that is special.
I mean, who knows how big a role that you will play in that down the journey. So you, after your time in Loughborough came to an end, you went and did a 2-year masters in Edinburgh, playing for the Caledonia Pride. Did you captain the Pride? Were you captain?
Yeah.
So obviously you're back home in Scotland. Brilliant fan base have the Caledonia Pride. Also, real nice uniforms. Where's my hand? There it is. Real nice uniforms. So yeah, how was it being back home? I know it's not Glasgow, but it's back in Scotland. How was that experience?
Yeah. Again, great experience. Very different. But yeah, it was nice. It was lovely to be home. It was really funny because we went back to I was living in a flat basically with like 5 other girls. And it was girls that like Sarah Thompson and Beth Mackey. It was people I'd grown up with when I was a kid. I mean, we used to go to tournaments together when we were 12, 13, 14. And now we were coming back, but now we were adults. So we could live, we had freedom to do what we wanted. We were cooking our own meals, like going out and spending time at the gym all the time. And, it was like going back in time, but not because you're grown up. And just that was such an incredibly special time because you never think you'll have that time with those people again. And we did, and it was just so comfortable because we already knew each other. There was none of that, I'm nervous to play for the new team because I might not know these people. And then as a bonus, we added some incredible people into the mix. I mean, we had Nat Bashton the first year come in, and Trisha came in, and it was really kind of special, and to kind of pioneer that first WBBL team in Scotland with kind of people you knew all around you who really wanted it to be successful and who were fans of everything we did was good.
I think did you know going in that you would be with the people that you essentially grew up with in a basketball context? Did you know when you made the decision to go back to Edinburgh, or to go to Edinburgh, to go to Caledonia? Was that part of the decision making, or were you always going to go back regardless?
I think we'd all kind of had a chat about it. I remember there was like some national team players. We had like a group on Facebook, and everyone was kind of trying to suss out, like what's happening here. Do we think this is going to be a success? Are people going for this? Like, because I'd contacted a few other kind of teams that summer, and was kind of thinking about doing a master's, but wasn't really sure where, and wanted to obviously keep playing basketball. So I was weighing up a few options, and obviously a new team, it's worked out incredibly well and it's been such a success. But at the time you're like, well, this is a bit of a risk. Like there's not been a new team in the WBBL at that point. It's very like different circumstance. So I do remember I did know like certain players were in the mix to go back, and we're making decisions on it. It was then just weighing up my options, and it was kind of like, it was like a domino effect. Once one person was like, okay, this is what I'm doing, everyone was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And then it was like, oh, this is now like really exciting, everyone's committing to go back, and it's going to be. But I do remember it's like a little bit nervous. You're like, is it going to be like what it was like before, or how are people going to be? And I had been out of that mix for a little while, kind of doing my own thing. So, but yeah, it was, I think we did kind of have a grasp of who was going to be in that mix fairly early on.
That's really cool. Not a lot of people have that opportunity. There's only, I suppose, there's two examples I can think of where it's kind of happened. That was the London City Royals, where a bunch of guys that have played together forever finally got the chance to play. And the Northants Titans in the English National League system, D2 now, bunch of old mates from back in the day have come together and are wrecking the league. I'm very excited to see what they do in D2 this year. Anyway, this is about Robyn Lewis. So how was that first season? How was that first season as a new franchise in WBBL?
Exciting, but a massive learning curve again. So we took a lot of losses our first year, and Bart was great. I don't know if anyone knows about a Bart Senger's training program, but we train a lot compared to a lot of other teams in the league. So, I mean, we had a super long preseason. We were in preseason for, we went back early August. So we had a really long preseason. We've been working out a lot. And then we still didn't win games. I don't even know if we won a game before Christmas time. So, if you take into the consideration that we're traveling a lot more than other teams, so you're spending a lot of hours on the road, and we weren't getting wins, and it was hard. Like, we were a tight-knit unit, but we were trying to pick each other back up, and we were losing a lot of games. So then when it kind of started to turn and things started to click and people started to believe in that process a bit more, it was a really special place to be. And we always had such good support from our families and people we'd grown up with, and just people that liked basketball in the area. Everyone wanted to be a part of it in some small way. So we always had that kind of backing, and wins started to come and we started to really mix together. And I think the season finished, despite the fact we just missed out on the playoffs, which was obviously, we were all really gutted, but we were proud of kind of the journey we'd been on, and there was that momentum then to kind of keep building through.
Was the highlight of the season the home win against the Sheffield Hatters?
That must have been. I don't think if you talk to anyone from that team about that game, they'll remember it. They'll remember all of it.
Did Helen Naylor play in that game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, the Lewis Naylor situation again. I heard that apparently you are the player that Georgia Jones likes to play against the least. This is what I have heard from my sources. What do you?
Never told me that.
Of course she didn't. She's a Jones. The Joneses. That's a dynasty.
Keep their cards close to our chest.
Absolutely, but I'm just saying. That's what I've heard. Apparently, you are a thorn in Georgia's side when on the opposition.
I'll take it.
So, summer 2017, you went to Malaysia with Scotland. So first off, just that's amazing. I didn't realize you guys were playing qualifiers for the Commonwealth over in Malaysia. But apparently you obviously Scotland didn't make the Commonwealth for the women's side of things by 2 points, was that?
I think it was 3 points. Yeah. It was a very mixed bag of a summer. It was absolutely incredible. It was unprecedented to have a senior women's Scotland team travel to Malaysia to play qualifiers. That was just something that none of us ever thought would have been possible. There was people that had been involved in that program, like your Nat Challoner, Erin McGarrigan, Deanne Hayward, and even the group that were kind of my age. We'd been in that mix a very long time, and no one had done anything like that. So we couldn't believe it until we were almost at the airport, kind of ready to go, that it was happening. And yeah, really kind of incredible experience. And then very deflated at the fact that we hadn't done what we set out to do, especially with such big investment from the governing body. And so yeah, it was a really great tournament, and we all really enjoyed it, but it was really hard kind of coming home and realizing that we hadn't done it. And yeah, it was definitely that was a very mixed bag. You had kind of two sides to that one.
Yeah, I can imagine. Has there been much Scottish national team activity since that tournament?
No, not really. I haven't represented since. I don't think we've had really any opportunity as a senior women team to represent since. A lot of focus has gone into the youth teams. They're trying to, figure out a pathway, and I think it's been a little bit of an interesting couple of years. Like, quite a few people have taken a step back on the women's side of things. They've retired, they've gone into other things, other focuses in their life. So yeah, we kind of trailed off a little bit for the time being, but with the way kind of Pride is going and with the way the Youth Scotland setups are going, I think we're in a really strong place overall. It feels weird to feel like you're old in that setup now. But it's great to see so many young players coming through. Like the future of that national team setup right through is really bright with what they're doing. So that's such a positive.
Now, this is kind of a loaded question, given that, as I go on about constantly, I'm a very proud Welsh person. And though I do, I fully get behind Team GB. I've got a Hannah Shaw jersey, not currently on my wall. I've got Racing today, but I do have a Hannah Shaw jersey because, Northern Soul, what a player, what a person. But I personally love to see my nation, Cymru, represented by senior age group sides. I think that's important, even if it is as a potential pathway for players to look at getting into the GB setup. Now, I know basketball in Cymru is a long way actually behind where you guys are with the Scottish national team. But do you think it's important that Scotland has national or international representation in addition, in like small nations competition at a senior level?
Absolutely. I'm similar, I'm a proud Brit, but I'm also a proud Scot too. And having both programs maximizes opportunity for more people. And yeah, I think it's really important. It's what kids at home see when they're growing up playing basketball, having that awareness and being able to link to those role models again is really important. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone was really gutted when kind of that competition wasn't going to be available, and still are. It still affects people. It's even for players like me. I mean, what am I aiming for with my summers now? If that kind of falls away, it takes quite a big chunk of kind of your basketball year out of the mix, so to speak. So yeah, I definitely think it's really important, and it will be a real shame if that's not possible in the future.
They need to bring back 5-on-5 basketball back to the Commonwealth Games. That's an absolute no-brainer. It's a ridiculous decision. I mean, good for 3-on-3 or 3-on-3, 3x3. That's awesome, but let's get full 5v5. And
both. The more basketball, the better.
Absolutely. Beach basketball, let's have that. Whatever you want, just more basketball. What I want to see, sorry, I've gone off on a bit of a pro Wales tangent. I'll do that from time to time. What I really want, right? 4 nations. Let's get Basketball Ireland. Let's have a little 4 nations tournament, senior tournament every summer. I'll commentate it, don't you worry.
Yeah, that would be fun.
We're good. It will be so good, imagine. Because what was the highlight of the Commonwealth Games from a spectator point of view? In the men's side of things, it was England versus Scotland.
Yeah.
That was so cool to see. And now imagine Wales in there. Imagine Ireland in there. Oh, you got yourself a party.
Yeah, you would.
So the first time I saw you play live was, I think, the first time I met my chum, Mike Hunter Morris. It was the WBBL Cup final. Now, obviously, the result didn't quite go the way you had hoped. The Wildcats finally broke their curse, and again, unfortunately against you guys. But what was that experience like of making it through the cup run and playing on the big stage in Birmingham?
Crazy. I mean, we couldn't believe we were there. We were like second year in, we'd had a good run. And I think we all just loved the whole experience. I mean, we were gutted not to win. We obviously went out to be competitive, but I think we were overall really proud of how we'd represented the organisation and, how much growth we'd shown. And every single player in the WBBL in that league, that's kind of one of the highlights of the year and something that is so special to play in if you get the opportunity. And to kind of go out and be a Scottish player and captain a Scottish team in it was just that's not going to happen that many times, if ever again, in your career. So it was incredibly special.
I do remember the battle between Trisha Oakes and Ash Harris, Ash Arlen. That was such a good final. It's about time, and I don't know what you think on this. It's about time they had the women's final go on second. Have that as the marquee fixture for one of the finals. If you want to keep the O2 to the men's going on second, then good for you. But one of the other cup finals, I want to see the WBBL game be the marquee star game. I don't know what you think, because the reason being, other than the fact that basketball played by women is a wonderful thing. It's bloody marvelous. Those games are always so good. I'm yet to see a bad WBBL final.
I know. It's just been incredible. I mean, talking about Helen Naylor, I mean, who's going to forget that final? No one. It was incredible. I remember, you remember where you are when you watch them and who you're with, and people's reactions. But yeah, I mean, it's so great for the women's game to, in those kind of moments, to be captured so well in terms of the quality of performance and the closeness of the game, and just showing how great women's basketball is and why, if you don't watch it, you're missing out.
100%. If you don't, if you're watching this, firstly, thank you. Really do appreciate it. Leave a comment, let us know. I'll always read it. Watch women's basketball played by women. I don't know. I feel a bit weird saying women's basketball because it's basketball and it's awesome. And it just happens to be played by women. WNBA show, live, Thursday, 8 p.m, YouTube, Focus Hoops. Check it out. Hopefully my voice is fixed by then. I don't know, maybe not.
Maybe. Well for that one, didn't
I? Mike Hunter Morris is on there. Have you been watching any WNBA, by the way?
No, this is going to sound terrible now. I'm going to take a big step back down. I haven't really, actually. I'm actually really bad for not watching much basketball in my free time. I've been, for all the free time I have. I mean, I follow the GB team and stuff religiously. Whenever they're playing something, I always watch them. But yeah, I do need to be better at branching out and watching more. I always say it to myself, I'm going to learn loads of cool stuff. And then I just never seem to quite get around to it. So maybe, New Year's resolution 2021, that's going to be me.
There you go. Or alternatively, it is over the summer. This year was so good for it because it was just 22 games, just boom. It was actually kind of overwhelming. What's it called? EuroLeague, Women's EuroLeague. It's on YouTube. It's brilliant. Check it out. Anyway, sorry, getting completely off track. So now you are in Cardiff, the bright lights, the big city, as from someone from North Wales. It's a very exciting place. How are you finding? How have you found that experience, and what was it that took you to the fine institution that is Cardiff Met Archers?
Things really, I guess. I finished my masters. I felt kind of ready to try something different. Everyone always makes fun of me, so you're just trying to tick off every one of the home nations. You've done England, you come back to Scotland, you're going to Wales. But yeah, I reached out to a few people. I knew I wanted to still keep playing basketball. It was a huge part of my life. but then it becomes quite different when you're out of that student setup and you're trying to weigh up how you take steps forward in a career. So I didn't actually really have a career. Steph was a massive pull for me to go to Cardiff. I thought I could learn a lot from her. So I got in touch with her in the summer, went for a visit, quite liked the setup. And then, it happened quite quickly, really. I think there was no big build up. I kind of made the decision, and then a couple of weeks later I was there and straight into it and trying to find a job and piece together all the other stuff. So I just kind of threw myself in at the deep end and exploring a new city and a new place and trying out some new stuff. So it was fun.
So how's it been playing with Olympian Steph Collins?
Yeah, I mean, cool. It's been a difficult couple of years for Steph as well, with injury and things like that, which is a shame, because anytime, like the glimpses we have had of being able to play together or having her in the practice, I mean, she's such an impact player, and that was such a big pull for me to go there. So we've had glimpses of that, and it'll just be seen now how that pans out and what she does in the next couple of years. But she's had an incredible career and has always been such a big role model for me. Again, kind of put her, like the Georgia and Steph, kind of, they're like right up there for me in terms of players that I've looked at since I was really young. And I actually, funny story, I'm going to sidetrack now myself, but I went to watch the Olympics in London with my family in 2012, and obviously GB were playing. And they came into the crowd like after a game. They obviously had tickets. And I think we were watching like the third, fourth place, like me and my family, and Steph and other people came in and they sat down the front. And my mum is like a huge Steph Collins fan. I mean, she likes Steph Collins playing basketball more than she enjoys watching me play basketball. So she's like freaking me out, like, oh my God, it's Steph Collins. You need to go and get her autograph. And this is like the year before. I'm like, I know I'm going to Loughborough, and I'm like, Mum, I'm not doing that. It's so embarrassing. Like, stop. Like, I'm not going to ask Steph Collins for her autograph. And I remember like being mortified. And then I remember repeating this story to her, like when I got to Cardiff, and she just found it so hilarious. But yeah, so I've always been, starstruck by Steph Collins, as is the entirety of my family. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think the whole country should be, if they aren't already. Did you get your mother a Steph Collins autograph either then or now? Does she have Steph Collins merch that is signed by Steph? Like, surely you've used your connections.
I should probably do that. I mean, I did stretch to like Cardiff Met Archers t-shirt. Everyone in my family has them. They've all, like, even my grandparents, they've got them. They were wearing them when we played Caledonia Pride in Edinburgh. They're the only 5 Maroon fans sitting in the whole crowd. So yeah, I kitted them out in that sense. But yeah, Steph, if you're watching this, get your signature at the ready.
That'd be so good. So who knows? Let's just talk a bit more about your time in Cardiff so far. So is this the first time that you've really stepped into a coaching role in addition to your playing?
I mean, I've always done kind of bits of coaching. I've always seen it as like really important, but I wouldn't have said it's ever really been a massive priority for me. I've kind of used it as a means to an end. Like when I was in Edinburgh, I coached in some high schools there, it made me some extra money. I was a student at the time, that kind of thing. And I always really enjoyed it when I got there, but it wasn't like the main focus of my week. Whereas this Cardiff has been more of instead of just doing ad hockey, I'm in and out of schools and I'm doing kind of appearances and coaching one-off sessions. I've actually taken on like a team and, worked with them consistently throughout the year. So yeah, I think that's been a little bit of a shift for me. Like coaching's become a little bit more of a priority.
And do you see yourself following that path more again in the very far future after your playing career is done? Do you see yourself maybe as a WBBL? Or no, why not? Why not a BBL coach?
Gosh, no. I mean, I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. I mean, again, I guess I go back to like my degree, and I haven't studied to be a coach, and it's not really been something I've thought about. I mean, I think even from my first to my second year in Cardiff, I've enjoyed coaching lots more, and even in like practices and that Pride setup. I mean, you're a player, but a lot of it is kind of little bits of coaching because it's a young team, and you know, you're kind of trying to lead that group, so it has coaching elements even though you're not obviously the coach. But yeah, I guess I've definitely started to enjoy it more and more, and I think having Sarah Wagstaff, who obviously plays in the WBBL team but isn't, kind of heads up a lot of the academy stuff at Cardiff and is really driving that forward. Yeah, I definitely have more of a love for it now than I maybe used to, and I'm a lot more getting a lot more confident in it now. But I don't know if it's a career path I see for myself, but I definitely think it's important, and you know, kind of promoting the game to younger people is important as well.
How did you find playing with Christina Bijika this season? Somebody that I had the pleasure of commentating a couple of times when she played for Bristol against Anglia Ruskin. How did you find her impact on your side this year?
Yeah, I mean, you can see from her numbers, she had a big impact. Yeah, she's tough and kind of like brought a lot of intensity and competitiveness to the practices. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been really lucky to play with a lot of really good players, and it was great to have her involved and play with her as well.
So hopefully is there anything that you think I've missed over your journey that you'd like to talk about?
That's pretty much me, just going around. Yeah, it's kind of strange. It's like funny now. People say to me like, "Oh, you've been in the WBBL and in the league now like 7 years. How are you feeling?" And I'm like, I still feel inexperienced, and yeah, it's a really kind of cool little setup to be involved in a small way, and you know, make these connections with people. So, and it's hopefully going to keep on moving and growing in the right direction. So, yeah.
Hope so. Do you ever see yourself trying to get to Europe or maybe even Ireland? You know, because you want to finish off the well, not the home nation. I mean, it's Basketball Ireland is one unified body, isn't it? There's no north south. I think it's just it's just one.
Yeah.
All of the British Isles, you know. But anyway, is that something that's been on your radar, or you'd like to put on your radar at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do it. Yeah, I'm not sure if and when that'll happen. I think when I was younger, you know, it was a big goal for me. I did want to play somewhere in Europe and be exposed to kind of, you know, it wouldn't have to be massively high level, but just to have that experience is definitely something I would jump at the chance to do. So yeah, I'll put my name out there now. I'd love to do it if anyone will have me, but yeah, just a miniature basketball player trying to make her way in the world, you know, so we'll see.
Hey, I mean, Melly Greta, who is, I keep going on about, she's like my favorite player on the planet currently playing. She's pretty small and she looks a lot like the basketball equivalent of Leo Messi. So, you know, that's not an impediment. She's currently playing in Spain. Check her out. She's awesome. There you go. That's what you can, as you're starting to watch more basketball. Movistar Estudiantes from Spain. They're pretty great. And their point guard is absolutely top draw. So I have a couple of questions that I like to ask people that I interview. The first is just a completely stupid question that I sometimes have at the start, sometimes have later. What is your condiment of the year?
I'm a classic. I'm known as like tomato ketchup fiend. Like wherever I go, like it's boring, I know, but I have it with everything, so I've got to just go classic. Can't try and be exciting when I'm not.
There you go. No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a strong answer. You've thought about it. You've committed to it. I absolutely love that answer. Katrin Hulme, Anglia Ruskin player, she famously said, her famous quote of hers, "Life is too short not to have ketchup." So
I back it 100%. I think she's completely right.
So So you've mentioned Steph Collins and Georgia Jones as your basketball idols. Is there anybody else, or is it mainly those two from when you were, young? Who really stood out to you as a player that you based the game on, or just really love to watch?
Yeah. I guess those two are probably my main ones. I think also Deanne Hayward played in the same kind of junior club as me when I was a kid, when I was playing at St Mirren. So she was another one that was kind of a real big influence for me when I was younger. But yeah, those are my big three: Deanne, Georgia, and Steph.
Do you have any favorite teams that you enjoy watching?
I'll plug the GB women. I do love watching them. As I've said, I know to my discredit, I am not great on the basketball stuff, but I love following the national team. And just like other games around the league, I mean, you get so sucked into it, don't you? You end up, and I do follow the BBL as well. And even some of the uni stuff and college programs that other people go to, you end up tapping into loads and loads of stuff as people branch out. GB stuff, definitely a big fan.
Do you think the Lions are going to absolutely sweep the BBL this year? They've got quite the roster.
It's certainly sounding like it, isn't it? Like a lot of people seem to think it's just going to be a clean sweep. Hopefully not. I like a bit of competitiveness, and I like a bit of an underdog. So, we'll see.
Speaking of underdogs, Glasgow Rocks, do you think they're going to really push on this year?
Let's hope so. I mean, they had such a great year last year. So hopefully they can find their feet and get going. But it's such interesting times because everyone even people's access to training is so different across the league because of different nation state rules and localized lockdowns and all of that palaver. So, I'm a big fan of them as well. To be fair, I try and get to their games when I'm at home. So, I hope they have a successful year.
Palaver is absolutely the word. Hoping for Gareth Murray having a great season. So this is, I think, last question for you. But where is your favorite place to play basketball?
Really hard. I guess in terms of tournaments I've played in, I've always loved playing overseas, and I actually really like playing in the heat. I don't know if that's just crazy, but like the tournament in Malaysia and stuff, I absolutely love that. So any kind of overseas different tournament where you get a feel for what being a pro is like, because you're away, you've got somewhere to stay, your meals are all sorted, your main focus is playing, which it's crazy because we play in the WBBL, but that's not the case for the majority of people that play in that league. So I think any kind of time I get to do that is really cool. And then, I guess you're always fond of gyms you've spent a long time in, like the Loughborough gym and stuff like that. So places I've played in, like the Pleasance. The Pleasance is probably my favorite place to play because I played a lot of my youth cup finals there, and then being back there with pride and that kind of atmosphere was really cool. So now that I've named every single basketball court in multiple countries, I'll sell on the Pleasance and pick that as mine.
All right, wonderful. Well, Robyn Lewis, thank you so much for joining us on the Focus Hoops show, the Focus Hoops podcast. Do you have anything to sell or to advertise? Do you have a book out?
No, I don't have a book out. I need to get working on that, the sounds of things. Yeah, I do have an Instagram account for my lunches. It's called Lunches with Robyn Lewis. Yep. So we put a lot of our meals on there. We're very foodie people, so if you want to look at some good meals that are also nutritious most of the time, give that a follow.
That's amazing. That will link in the show notes. That will be there. That's amazing. That sounds like Hannah Shaw's Hannah with Tiny Things.
I love that account. She's great.
It's a great account. Northern Soul, man. She's awesome. She's different gravy. As are yourself. So just a huge thank you to you for joining us on the show this evening and putting up with my ridiculous voice. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. And for you listening at home, for you watching, just a massive thank you to you for checking out the podcast, checking out the show. Make sure you check out Robyn Lewis's Lunch with Robyn Lewis account and get supporting women's basketball if you're not already. Thank you for your time, and we'll speak to you very soon.